Okay, John, take it away.
Okay, hi everyone. This is John McGaw and Bill Moist. We're here to tell you a little bit about what's going on in the market with RVs and self-storage. Now, first we'll start with a story that Bill has about 12 people in Florida. Bill, go ahead, take it away. Tell us your story about the Florida.
Yeah, about 2 weeks ago, a friend of mine returned from Florida, and they had a party of 12, and all 12 of them came down with COVID, including the captain of the boat. They rented a boat to go out one day, and so they couldn't figure out exactly where they, where they caught it, but they did stop to help some people that were stranded. They thought it was possible then, but it's interesting. Even the captain got it, so it was a mystery to them. But then when they got home, they had to go ahead and contact the people that they had contact with, just to let them know that they should get checked out.
And how'd they get to Florida, Bill?
Well, they flew, and then they stayed in a hotel. So those are two ways we can get exposed, obviously.
Yeah. So, and I got a story next about my son, and this leads into what we're about to talk to. Now, my son was riding a four-wheeler with his cousin a few months ago, and he's ridden motorcycles, raced motorcycles, driven boats, jet skis, you name it. He's done a lot. He snowboards, skateboards, bicycle rides, mountain bike, road bike. And anyway, he was on the back of this four-wheeler, and this was her second time to ride it. The first part of the morning they rode it, and then the second part of the day she was driving, and she had a lot more confidence. So she was going a lot faster. Well, this road right here makes a 90-degree bend, and she was going full blast and probably, 40 miles an hour, and she was not going to be able to stop. And I said, Logan, didn't you know you were going too fast to stop? And he said, yeah, Dad. And I said, why didn't you say something? He goes, I don't know. I should have. And that's what we're about to say. We're going to say something. Here's what's going on right now. Bill, I'll let you take this slide.
Yeah, what's interesting is the resurgence in the sales of RVs are kind of, and motorhomes are kind of parallel with the resurgence or the surging of the coronavirus. And so we've been checking out various news outlets, and all of them have stories about how the COVID is increasing the desire to travel and to use RVs in particular, motorhomes. And the reason is because you have a safe space. But Outdoorsy, which is one of the peer-to-peer marketplaces, they have solo travelers and all kinds of RV people, and they rent them all over the country. Yahoo Finance said the demand for $100,000 plus RVs soared after COVID-19. That was according to Thor's Industries. CNN reports. So they're all saying that the desire now to travel, because we've been locked up for several months, is really surging. But we're not comfortable enough to go on airplanes.
Yeah, and this, I'll tell a little bit about this. This is more of the Thor industry. Now they own Mercedes-Benz and Airstream. They've had their biggest record sales since 1985. They've owned Airstream since then, and they've had the best year ever in the history. Here's a couple of pictures of what type of RVs they have. Now, a lot of times I'll talk a little bit about this. Right now, I'm working from home. I'm in Florida, actually at an Airbnb, and I'll be here for a month. And so a lot of people can work anywhere nowadays. It's IT or banking or anybody, just about everybody can work from home. And a lot of the RVs in that article of Yahoo Finance, they were talking about now the RVs, the one in my picture in my background also has Wi-Fi in the RV. So you can work anywhere you want to in the USA. Right? Anywhere you go, just about, as long as it's got a good signal. And most parks, Bill, what about most parks having Wi-Fi?
Well, most parks have to have good Wi-Fi. That's kind of a demand of customers. So you can go to almost any park in the country, and if you don't have built-in Wi-Fi, you can get a signal.
Yeah, and here's another article from the Wall Street Journal talking about who's renting these RVs and who's buying them. So in the article, this is a group that just rents RVs. They say the folks that are renting RVs now are pro athletes, celebrities. They've even had 10 to 15 billionaires rent these things. And this was an article from late April that only 14% of travelers feel safe taking a domestic flight, and 17 feel safe at a hotel or resort. So, Bill, I'll let you take this slide here.
Yeah, it's interesting. Any kind of travel where we're confined with a bunch of people right now is really out of favor, even if we're wearing a mask. My daughter just returned from Alaska on the way home, and she was crammed in the back and felt really uncomfortable. So flying is really tough right now. Trains are the same way. Buses, same thing. Cruise ships are probably the worst in terms of a large number of people compacted in a tight area. But guess what? An RV, motorhome in particular, you're safe. You can control your environment totally. You probably can go 600 miles on a tank of fuel, and you only need to stop for food, and you can do that through drive-ups or whatever. So you keep the whole family in there, and you can be safe and not have to have any contact with anybody you don't want. And an interesting little thing came out. The president said that he and Melania were thinking about renting one of those things, those houses on wheels. What do they call that? RVs. Yeah. So the president wants to get out too, and he wants to get an RV. Could you imagine that parade down the road with all the Secret Service driving around him?
Right. Yeah, that's great. So we were talking earlier. I went to this place is in Alvarado, Texas, and another point to how sales are going. I called MHSRV, and they say they're the motorhome specialist, #1 motorhome specialist in the world. I called the receptionist and said, hey, I'd like to talk to one of your sales guys. So they transferred me, and I waited on the phone, I don't know, 5 minutes or so, and it transferred back to her. And she goes, I'm sorry, all the salespeople are busy. This is maybe a month ago. And so I said, well, I just got one question. How are sales? And she said, we've seen, what'd she say? An increase of 20 units a day. So when they're usually around 10, but that's crazy. Bill,
John,
I'll let you take
before
this.
you go on, John, tell them the price of those motorhomes.
Oh my gosh, the top ones are 800,000. Medium price, $50,000.
Yeah.
I'll let you take this one, Bill, about bigger pockets.
Yeah. So, I'm a CPA and have been in the real estate investing business and developing for 30 years. And it's interesting how that all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, but we know for some time that self-storage is really recession proof. In fact, our experience in the last few months has actually improved. We've actually added renters. Mobile home parks are also recession proof. That's kind of on the bottom of the market. But what's interesting is mobile homes and RVs kind of go together. A lot of RV parks will allow, allow people to have places on there that are more semi-permanent. So both these sides are really booming right now, and they're really recession proof, and they're both seeing a great deal of growth right now.
Yeah, and then Forbes also, another article about how people are traveling RVs. It just goes on and on. This is, this is part of the Forbes article about how much or how little exposure to others you can have in RVs. And Bill, I know 10 million households nationwide own RVs, or that's what it was. This statistic is from last year, and I know you have another statistic about people who do it full time. Tell us a little more about that.
Yeah, it's really interesting. There's well over 1 million households or families who are full-time RVs. And traditionally that was, retired folks primarily. But now we're seeing lots of people who work and travel, have RVs. We're also seeing millennials living in RVs because they have those kind of, they have those software type or IT jobs or sales jobs. They can do that. But the thing that I found very interesting is now we have families with school-age children who are traveling full-time in RVs. So everybody is using RVs full-time more and more.
Yeah, and I'll tell a little story about our RV parks full. So before the pandemic, before this, we had an investor call 70-something sites. Now, out of the 70 sites, 26 of them would not answer the phone. And after doing a little research, he found that the reason they're not answering the phone is because they don't have to, because they have a list of people waiting in line to get in these sites. Now, how do these two classes work together? We're talking about storage and RVs.
Yeah, RV storage and RV resorts are kind of the opposite side of the same coin. RV owners, especially motorhome owners, tend to kind of travel in packs. So let's say John had his RV stored out here and he's got some buddies coming in from Arizona and said, hey, there's a great little RV resort right next door to where I store my RV. Why don't you stay there for a few days? So that community talks a lot together. And so they really complement each other. They really do.
Yeah, I got a story here about a few of my friends. Bill, you're one of them. Now, Doug, Lydia, and you had some of your best months in storage over the pandemic. And I talked to Doug and also Lydia that all of their large storage units were completely booked and have been for years. They seldomly turn. It's the smaller ones that turn more often, but the bigger ones stay rented. And maybe you can tell me a little bit about what happened in March.
Yeah, March was our best month ever in terms of number of units rented, because this is a boat and RV storage property. So 7 is a big number there out of 160. April was good. May was really good. We rented 6, increased by 6 in May, and June was a great month. We're now down to we actually rented 4 units to one party. We only have 2 units left out of 160. So our occupancy has been steadily increasing since March, and so that just validates what we're saying here.
Okay. Well, I noticed you said something about boats. So are boats selling right now? I mean, do anybody need to store a boat?
Yeah, well, that's a great question. A friend of mine bought a boat recently, and he said the dealer was selling 50 boats a month. He had no used boats. In fact, many of the boat dealers are cleaned out right now. They have no boats left. And so obviously, we have room for boats on our property too. We're close to a lake. So we expect to we're calling it RV storage, but if it stores an RV, it's certainly big enough to store a boat.
And let me tell you something about the size of the new boats. A lot of them are, well, what's very popular right now is the surf boat. And I just sold one, so I know how the boat sales are going. Now, in the old days, your 18-foot boat would fit in your garage and you turn it sideways, break the neck. They don't do that anymore. These boats are way bigger, and these storage units have to become a bigger size to fit these new boats. Now, Bill, I know you know a little bit about this. So is self-storage landlord friendly? I mean, what happens when somebody doesn't pay the rent or, passes away or something?
Well, most commercial real estate, we have to go to the courthouse to get somebody evicted if they're not paying the rent, and that takes some time. With storage, it's a totally different world. We give them notices. If they still don't pay, then we lock them out, and then we start negotiating with them, try to get them to pay. But in the end, we'll call a third-party firm to have an auction to clear their property out of the storage unit, and then we'll get the net proceeds up to the total amount they owe.
So I'm going to take this slide here. Let's talk a little bit about Make Ready. So I've owned apartments, senior livings, and single family rentals. And sometimes it takes a little bit of time to get them ready to rent out. Now, I got a question to you, Bill. How long does it take for a self-storage to be ready for the next person?
Well, as long as it takes to sweep it out, John. You can have one leaving and one coming in.
What about the RV parking?
Well, there's nothing to clean there. Empty the trash bin, and that's it.
That's awesome. I love it. And the generational updates, I mean, how often do you have to update a storage?
Basically all we have to do is, with time, the roll-up doors will have some wear. We have to get them adjusted. That's it. That's it.
It's awesome. So here's a little bit about the market growth for self-storage. In 2019, it was $87 billion expected to grow. In 2015, it's expected to grow to $115 billion. That is 134% growth. Now, Bill, what's it take to put all this together?
Yeah, our project we're working on right now in Ennis is a new construction project, and it's taken a number of months with engineers and architects to design the plans that you see there in my arms. And there's also a big book that's about 6 inches deep with all the particular details. So it took that and several $100,000 to build the project, actually to be able to start the project and get it approved by the city and give us a building permit.
Well, that concludes our webinar today. If you would like more passive residual income, give us a call. Let's talk. Any final words, Bill?
No, that's great, John. I just want to highlight our contact. It's Bill Moist, 817-657-4080. Bill at billmoist.com. John McGow at 817-727-9622. And his email is john at lsm-associates.com. And we appreciate you taking time to be with us today.
Thanks, everyone, for joining.